idea of spiritual rebirth is a very central aspect of all mythical, religious, allegorical understanding of what life is. Almost every culture remembers the concept of rebirth in some way, in its own unique way. But what is this rebirth? Is it something that happens after you die? Are we talking about next life? Or are we talking about something that can happen on the inside in this very lifetime while you're alive? A rebirth into something more natural, something that is your own nature, your own beauty. Is rebirth a way of transcending creation? You are the created. Your mind is the created. Your body is the created. The creator is hidden because the created is blocking the creator. Every time you think about life, you think through the created. In fact, a thought itself is a created entity. Why is it not possible to see this creator? Because the moment you think, the creator is blocked. The created has become the medium of understanding. As long as the created is the medium, the creator will be hidden. Throughout our lives, we try to understand our place in it, what's happening on the inside, on the outside, using our thoughts, which is the manifested, the created. So we are stuck in a certain dimension of manifested reality. What if rebirth is longing for that pure, unmanifested space of creation? Then you don't have to wait till the end of your life. In fact, the whole concept of rebirth would make sense only if you can make a conscious choice, a decision, and you're able to find a way to enter that space and renew your understanding of life, transcend the created realm, transcend all that is created, all that you're creating. Only if it can be done by you, through your conscious choosing, it can be called rebirth. What happens after your death is not rebirth, it's just the continuation of the same life in a slightly different form. Most of it is still the same. Your attachment to things, the way you have learned to interact with life, your fears, your desires, they all remain the same. The visible world is only a covering. Behind that covering is another world. Our thoughts, our emotions, the way we interact with them is a place in itself. It is because we are so obsessed with the outside, we do not see the inside as a space just like the outside. When we think about the inside, we think in terms of abstract concepts, thoughts, ideas, dreams, emotions, feelings. But in actuality, it is really a place. A thought is nothing but a place. For us, it seems like a very abstract thing. We don't know what it is. That's why we call it a thought. But really, can you separate a thought from the place it is occupying? Just to give a simple example, wherever you are, the context, the environment, your thinking is bound to that. It is next to impossible to separate your thinking from the place you are occupying. Just imagine you are taking a walk in a dark alley in a subway and you're smelling a dead rat. That's the environment you're in. Now, what kind of thoughts your mind would generate? Can it compose poetry? If it does, what kind of poetry would that be? Can it imagine something beautiful? Whatever we recognize as feeling, sensation, emotion is really the place we are being thrown to because of the place where we are. On the inside, we are occupying a certain place because outside we are occupying a certain place. Because we don't have access to this inside, we simply call it thought, feeling, emotion. We describe it in terms of some abstract, non-physical entity. But the inside is as vast, if not even more vaster than the outside. Inside is as much a place, as much a space as the outside. And we are constantly moving in this landscape. And depending on where we are, depending on the environment that is influencing our place in the inside, we generate those kind of thoughts. That is why when we are in a nice, peaceful environment, just sitting comfortably, drinking a cup of coffee, we generate certain type of thoughts. When we are in the middle of a chaotic marketplace of interactions, people, constant noise, we generate certain type of thoughts. We cannot disconnect ourselves from our environment and live in that independent space on the inside, because the inside space is connected to the outside space. Even this separation between inside outside is pretty much arbitrary. There is no actual wall separating the inside and the outside. It is an imaginary wall. We have developed our language in such a way that when we are describing something that we are perceiving through our senses on the outside, we describe them using certain words. When we are experiencing the same thing on the inside, we use slightly different words. Quite literally, a feeling is simply a feeling of being somewhere at some point in time. It is just like you want to change the way you're feeling. If you are changing where you're living, if you decide to just take a walk, let's say there's too much noise, too much chaos, two people are fighting there, and you decide to just walk away, won't that change your mood? Won't that change what you're thinking about, what you're perceiving? Now, how different is this from the change of feeling, change of mood on the inside? Hardly any. Rebirth is simply going to that place where nothing is there. A place where there are no thoughts. A place where there is no manifested. It is a pure space ready for creation, completely open, completely empty, completely alive, just existing because existing is its nature. Being is its nature. When you get to that place, you can, for the first time, see in actuality who you are. Up until then, you have only been thinking about who you are. You've been trying to see through the keyhole of thoughts which were totally distorting the reality of who you are, because who you are is so vast, so all-encompassing, so complete, that if you try to understand it through a limited phenomenon that you have created in your sleep, naturally, you would see yourself as a manifestation of that thought. Now, Rene Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." Initially, my impression of this statement was he's putting so much emphasis on thinking that he's saying because he's thinking, he's there. But in actuality, he's saying the exact opposite. He's saying, "I think, therefore I am." So basically what he's saying is, because I am thinking, I have to be there. I have to precede this thinking. Look how the same statement, just a small shift in understanding, changes the complete meaning. I think, therefore I am. If we could hear exactly how he said it, his voice, his intonation, we could have understood it much better. This is another problem with language. So much of how we communicate is about how we communicate, is not what words we use. Our internal landscape that we bring to it, that intonation, that moment of connection. I think, therefore I am, is one thing. I think, therefore I am, is totally another thing. What he was saying was, the very fact that thoughts exist imply that you are there. What does that mean? It means even when there are no thoughts, you are there. Spiritual rebirth is simply experiencing that moment when you are there without any thoughts. A moment of deep cleansing, a moment of washing away of all the created, the accumulated, the manipulated, the added. When everything is washed away, when you're standing in front of the mirror of life and you're seeing nothing but the mirror, there is no reflection. That is who you are.